Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Ali Reiner, and I'm your lovely coach. And I'm delighted, absolutely delighted, to be here today on Project Positive Change's page, talking about something that that I'm going to be talking about in the weeks coming up. So, on a Monday, we dedicate Project Positive Change to relationships. Relationships come in all shapes and forms. Relationships start with yourself, and they go on. They can be romantic relationships. They can be the relationships we have within your family, at work, with your colleagues, with your clients. Absolutely anywhere in the world, anytime anytime you get in contact with somebody, you're having a relationship with them. Oh my goodness, there are people already watching. Hi, Caroline. So today it's the first time that I'm live on Project Positive Change. So I just wanted to introduce myself, let you see my face, let you hear my voice, and let you hear a little bit about, what I do and why I'm so passionate about what I do and what it actually means in the grander scheme of things. Because, we're all interacting every moment of every day, whether we're sitting up at about and we're on our phone sending messages, whether we're watching television, whether we're picking up a book, whatever, we're interacting with that, we're having some sort of relationship. So, whenever we talk about relationships, people tend to think of that romantic relationship, that romantic love. And of course it can be, and that's the bit that I love getting involved with, the bit that that lights me up, because that's where my story starts and certainly doesn't finish. But that's, I started my own personal journey in order to try and transform my marriage. Actually, more to transform my marriage. I actually wanted to leave marriage. And as I worked on myself, I discovered that that a lot of the issues, a lot of the stuff that was going on in our relationship had to do with me, and had to do with my beliefs, the beliefs that I'd taken into the relationship, things that I'd never really considered. It certainly wasn't a conscious decision to take all the shit, if you like, into the relationship. Hi Suzanne, I'm seeing people. I'm not going to say hello to everybody as you come up, because I've got ADD, so so I start saying hello to anybody below, I'll lose my plot completely, and we'll go off. We'll either go on for hours and hours and hours, or I'll lose my place. So in the course of me trying to resolve my own issues, I discovered that a lot of the stuff that I'd taken into the marriage were beliefs that I didn't even realise I had. So they weren't conscious. I didn't, for instance, I was incredibly, and I still can be when I'm not being mindful of what I'm doing, I can be very passive aggressive. Why? Because I picked that up. That's what I saw going on in my own home. I thought that's the way you carried out arguments. I didn't ever question it. So that's something that I took into my marriage, but into all relationships. I didn't have the ability, for instance, to be able to tell that I was unhappy at your behaviour, or that something you'd said had hurt me, or any of these little things that actually make a relationship. Because if I'm able to say to you, look, it hurt my feelings, I'm not telling you that because I want you to stop, to change your behaviour. I'm telling you that because I want you to know that actually I'm a very sensitive person. I know it's my shit, but it makes, if my reaction's a bit off with you, or if I take a step away from you, I want you to know why I'm taking a step away. It's nothing to do with you. I'm not asking you to change your behaviour. I'm just letting you know that this is who I am. So I'm sharing a bit of my own personality, my own characteristic with you, in order that you get to know me better. And for me, when I started working on this process, it started in my marriage, and then I sort of spread it out, and then I went off and trained as a coach in order to share it, on a wider level, if you like. But once I was able to share from that sort of sense of connection, as opposed to that sense of I want something from you, and that's it's a very, very fine line, and quite often, of course, we get there on our own. We can get there on our own, but it helps so much to have somebody else sit with you and help you get clear on where you're intention is to get something back as opposed to just to connect. And when you're in that space yourself, when you're in a relationship situation that isn't working particularly well for you, it's really difficult to step back and see, have the bigger picture. So it's quite useful to find a network, of close girlfriends or boyfriends, or people that you trust to tell you the truth. Or a therapist, it doesn't really matter, but somebody that you can take it to and say, this is where I am, this is what I'm thinking. Is there a flaw in that? Am I sharing the intention of wanting to connect with this person, or am I still trying to get something back? Excuse me a second, I'm going to close this door that there's a lot of noise outside. Apologies. So yeah, that's a sort of brief overview of what I'm about. I am, as I say, very much into self-love, and I'm going to be talking a lot about everything that I teach. Every time I open my mouth, it's about self-love and what that means. And it's really easy to say, of course we should love ourselves. We all know we should love ourselves. Enough books. We've all, last week here we had a Louise Hayes week. We know that self-love is the answer. What we don't know is what the hell that means. What does that mean to you and to me? The guy on the street just wants to have a better life. He just wants to be happy. Doesn't want, we don't have aspirations to be running the world. We just want something better than what's going on in our head just now, or what's going on in our lives just now. And for me, it begins with self-love. And there are various steps to work through in order to get to that place that you say, okay, I understand what that means for me. And the very first place is to get to know who you are. Get to know me as I am, not who I've been created, I've moulded over the course of the last, X amount of years. Not as I say, I was talking earlier about the beliefs that I took in marriage, but I take beliefs in every single day. Last week I had a situation, I was looking at my husband, we were home alone, and he said something that made me laugh, absolutely crack up with laughing, sometimes that happens. And I had this flash, this subconscious came to the conscious, and I thought, shit, I didn't ever think that after, X amount of years of being married, I would still enjoy my husband's company. And for a long time, I have to say I didn't, and that's why I do what I do now. But, I to actually have that, have that clarity. Marriage, for instance, because I talk a lot about relationships, the romantic relationships, but what I'm saying here goes for any relationship. But my belief in the back of my head somewhere, my subconscious somewhere, was that you get married, you have a few good years, and then you just put up with each other. Now, obviously, that's what I've picked up along the way. That's something I've done a lot of work on myself, my own marriage. So, I know that I'm in a happy marriage, but I hadn't let go of that belief that, that isn't the way things are. So it was kind of a shock. And a lot of the times, it's these little subconscious beliefs that shape all our interactions. And, and also the way we've been brought up, also the way that we've been taught to behave. You're either taught to be the good girl who does, or you're taught that you're the naughty one in the family and push boundaries, or whatever you were taught, whatever role that you were given in your family tends to be the role that you take into all your other relationships. And the reason I work a lot with the romantic relationship as opposed to, say, business relationships or even familial relationships, is that relationship, that romantic relationship is a huge mirror. It's a huge mirror for all the other, all the other relationships that we have and all the issues that we have internally, because we can't get away from it. I don't like my mum. I can put up with her for coffee on a Saturday afternoon, but don't make me have to spend 3 weeks holiday with her. You can do that. You can go for the coffee. You put on your you get your grint on and off you go, and then you don't have to speak to her until the following day. Or with your work colleagues, it's exactly the same thing. You turn up, you do what you have to do. You grit your teeth when somebody starts making you feel uncomfortable or starts pushing you. You take yourself out of the situation. You never really have to deal with it unless it blows up into something huge. In the romantic situation, however, you come home to each other every single night, and whatever you've created as your whatever mask you've taken into that relationship the paint starts to peel on it, and the plastic starts to melt, and the real you starts to come out, and then you've got to deal with that, you and him, of course. So it's very difficult to hide long term in that committed relationship, which is why it's so much easier to see the flaws in your thinking, if you like. Hi, Diana. And the flaws in your own thinking, and use that relationship to start working slowly towards that, towards self-love at the end of the thing, but towards that self-knowledge. Who am I? Why, what are the values that are sitting really badly with me at the moment? Where am I not being true to myself? Why am I not being true to myself? Sometimes we don't even need to know to begin with where these things came from. That's work that you can do after after you've understood what has to change. Then you can go a bit deeper and understand why and make peace with that if necessary. But it isn't always necessary to do that really deep scavenging in order to make a change in the way that you see yourself, in the way you view yourself, in the way that you present yourself to the world, the real you to the world, as opposed to the mask you. So the very first step is this getting to know who I am. That's I was talking to a client the other day, and she was saying, right, okay, so this thing that everyone tells me, we've got to know ourselves before we can introduce ourselves to anyone else. So myself is that sort of knowing my own intuition, and that's part of it. That's such a strong part of it. Is what happens is we've been moulded by society, we've been moulded by our parents, we've been moulded by the own beliefs that we picked up, we held on to when we were little, and we use them really now as a crutch to move forward. So instead of listening to the intuition, we just we go with what we've always done without questioning it. So getting to know yourself is peeling all those layers away and finding out really if this sits well with you, or another, I was going to say silly example. It's not a silly example. It's a very pertinent example, and it's something that happens more often than not. If your partner, for instance, has an affair, and it happens in unhappy marriages, somebody feels that they need to be, they need to look elsewhere to feel connected, to feel loved, to fill that hole that they were hoping to get when they came together, and that's why we want two holes coming together as opposed to two individuals, so that we don't need to look elsewhere. We can look inside to fill that hole. But anyway, when we're in this situation that maybe one partner has cheated, and you have 100 different voices telling you what you should do, your mum saying one thing, your great granddad saying another, your girlfriends are all saying kick him out, and you don't know what to do. You can't make your own decision because you're listening to all these different voices. And for some people, it's absolutely the end. For some people, the trust is broken and they know themselves that it's never going to be repaired. For other people, it's heartbreaking, it's dreadfully, upsetting, but at the same time, it's a light bulb moment. Okay, something needs to change here, as opposed to this is over. And nobody can tell you what your right answer is. But a lot of the times we're so disconnected with our own sense of intuition, our own sense of self, what we feel in our, and I do this a lot in my gut, but some people feel it in their heart. Some people even have it going on in their heads. It's conversations that they hear in their heads. So, that's something else you find where it starts. Does it start here? Does it start in your heart? Do you feel it in your gut? And learn to go with that one, so that you're not being pulled and jostled by other people's opinions. You stay true to you. When you're true to you, there is no wrong decision, there is no wrong choice, because you're comfortable with yourself. You can look yourself in the mirror and know that you did the best that you did based on what you felt was the right move. If it turns out that it's not working, great, you change. You've got a plan, and you can change that plan. So that's the very first step that we go on, is getting to know ourselves, getting to know why we feel a certain way when everyone else is saying don't feel like that, or why we're not bothered when everyone else is saying oh my god, but because that's it. That core value. It's got nothing to do with what I was taught as a child. It's got nothing to do with what my girlfriends think. It's got nothing to do with what society even believes. It's what I have deep inside of me. And once we've got that, once you get a picture of that, the next thing that we need to do is accept yourself as you are. So all those bits about you that don't fit into societal norms, all those thoughts that you have that you think are away, all those behaviours that you have. For me, one of the worst things that I ever discovered about myself is I'm proud. I am very prideful. Now, I thought because I was always fairly, self-conscious, and I was always, I didn't want to draw attention to myself. Somehow I thought that I was better than somebody who was all loud and full brash and always boasting about themselves. It's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. It's inverted pride. And that for me is horrific. That is one of the worst character traits that I could ever imagine. And I'm telling you that because I have worked so hard to accept that. But, I have to accept it. I have to accept it because it's part of me. And if I want to reach that's overall goal of being able to love myself absolutely, then I need to accept the good and the bad. Now, if you're anything like me, you could probably list off 100 of your bad traits, everything. You might struggle to find a few good ones, but it's equally important. It's equally important in the same way as it's equally important to give love and be able to receive it. It's also equally important to look at yourself as a whole and acknowledge the good parts of the personality, the good stuff, because there's so much good stuff, and even the stuff that we're not so keen on, even the stuff that that doesn't work for us in certain circumstances. Once we put it back into balance, once we acknowledge it, once we accept it as part of ourselves, we can find a way to balance it up, and then it becomes a strength. It doesn't always have to be a defect of character. It doesn't always have to be something that we're self-flagellating about. It does transform into something that we can use as a tool to move forward. For me, the pride, of course, when I'm so in tune that now when I feel that thing, when I feel myself shrinking down, it's really a huge wake-up call for me to put my shoulder back and to face up to whatever's going on. Normally a conversation I don't want to have. Normally it's a situation where somebody has hurt me and I don't want to hear it. So self-love equals self-knowledge, self-acceptance, and also making a place for yourself in your own life. I'm all over the place today, so I don't know if you hear that. There are toilets flushing and everything. Apologies. Making a space for you in your own day, and again, that's something that sounds really, really simple, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm with myself all the time, so I must be making time. But or on the other side, I don't have time for me. I don't have any time for me. We go from one to the other. There's never a nice middle ground. But it's acknowledging that I now know who I am. I now accept who I am. I now know that I need time in nature. I don't know if Diana's still watching, but time in nature. She needs a lot of time in nature, or she's not a happy bunny. I need a lot of time on my own. It doesn't matter where it is. It can be nature, it can be sea, it can be my bed, it can be anywhere at all. As long as I don't have anybody around about me, I need that time. It's a case of finding what it is you need. And that's a lot of people struggle with this idea of self-care. You know, I don't know if you've ever taken time to think about it, but you know, I had a fantastic email from a client once. She said, I'm doing yoga, hot yoga, I'm doing journaling, I'm doing gratitude, I'm doing coffee with my girlfriends, I'm out twice a week for dinner, I'm connecting with my husband. And she went on and on and on about all the self-care. And at the end she said, and I'm still not happy. Well, because these are things that you're doing just because you're ticking off boxes. They're not the things that you're doing because they really light you up. So you need to find out what lights you up. Nature, nobody. It could even be going for a manicure. You know, sitting there, you can't touch your phone. You sit with your hands out. You don't have to talk to anyone, especially if you go to a Chinese manicure that we've got here in Milan. And, you know, whatever it happens to be for you, whatever that space that you're going to cut out each day for yourself is, and if you really can't find any time or any space for you, take a coffee in the morning, take your tea in the morning, and acknowledge that this is something special for you. This is your gift to you for today. It doesn't have to be an hour that you carve out. It doesn't have to be any more than 5 minutes boiling the kettle, pouring the water in, and acknowledging that this is your gift to yourself. And it's a good way to start self-care. It's a good way to get over the guilt that we have of taking time for ourselves. And as we're going through this whole process, as we're putting all these little actions into place, and we're beginning to look at our own reactions, we find that we're becoming, of course, more accepting of ourselves. We're beginning to think of ourselves in kinder terms. We're beginning to work towards ourselves. We're beginning to say kinder things to ourselves, or if not being kinder verbally to ourselves, at least we're batting those voices in our head that tell us we should be, or you know, we're not good enough at this, or too slow, or we're too fast, or we're, you know, the million other things that are going on in your head. So, as my very first introduction to what, you know, to who I am and what I do, and you know, and why I believe, you know, that the crux of everything for me is this sense of self-worth, and making a decision that you work towards it, making a decision that it's something that you want in your life. And before you can put anything else in place, before you can start to think about transforming your romantic relationships, trying to understand why your business relationships aren't working, trying to build bridges with your parents, with your kids, with your dogs, with whatever, the very place that you want to build that bridge is with yourself. Because when that's in place, the next steps are really just practice steps. They're really just getting the building blocks and working out which tower you want to build. How do I put them in place? How am I probably have to put some boundaries in, but the boundaries are going to be very different for you, for me, for anybody else, and they're going to be very dependent on, you know, of my, you know, what has been missing in my relationship with myself. Why my self-esteem, why my self-worth have been so low, why I may be hugely confident when it comes to a $1 million business, but I can't keep a boyfriend for more than 2 months. You know, these are, you know, once you know what your own self-love program is going to be, it's so much easier to look at all the other relationships and understand how you want to transform those, and what actions you're going to have to put in place. So, if anyone's got any questions, I'm talking away as I do once I start on this subject, but if you've got any questions, please do pop them in here now, or if not later on. If, of course, you have any topics that you would like me to cover at different stages, I'm going to be here from now at least until the end of October, 3 o'clock every Monday. I'm going to be here and talking to you about various aspects of relationships. But as I say, the core is to work on self-love. So I'll always be referring back to that, and I'll always be referring back to tools that you can use in order to deepen that sense, or to begin that journey. If you're just thinking, God, I'm hearing this word, I'm sick of hearing it. What does it actually mean? Bear with us. What it means, and it's a journey that is so worth undertaking. I know I'm speaking to Caroline, Diana, and Susanna. I know I'm speaking to the converted here. So yeah, I'll sit for a couple of seconds. If you've got any questions to ask, I would be delighted to answer. If you have any particular topics that you'd like to cover, again, more than happy to schedule that in. I'm thinking that probably next week we're going to look at trust. That's something that's coming up a lot at the moment, is trust. And again, it's very much tied in with your sense of self. How can I trust other people if I don't trust myself? How can I trust myself until I really, truly have a picture of who I am and what makes me tick? So it would appear I've got no questions, but it was such a delight to be here for my very first PPC, Project Positive Change live stream. And thank you for coming, supporting. Thank you for supporting the page. And if you've got any questions, I'm here. You know where to find me. Alison Reiner, your loved again and forever coach. A delighted member of Project Positive Change. So have a lovely morning, afternoon or evening, as I say, depending on where you are, and I'll catch you soon. Bye.